The 2017 Tour de France is the longest in several years and brings the riders from Dusseldorf through all of France's 5 mountain ranges before finishing in Paris on July 23rd. There's much less time trialling in this year's race, meaning that the overall victory is more than likely going to be decided in the mountains. Chris Froome has won the last 2 editions, but he faces much stiffer competition in what is set to be one of the most open races in years. Hero Cycling uses 10 riders to watch for the Tour de France. Chris Froome goes into the race as the major favourite, having won the last 2 and 3 in total. Unusually for Froome, he comes into the race without a victory in his pocket, the first time that has happened since 2012. Froome finished 4th at the Criterium du Dauphiné in June, a disappointment but not too worrying for the British rider. While he didn't perform as expected in the time trial, he put on a strong performance on the descent of the Mont du Chat, showing that he's not afraid to push the margins to take time. BMC's Richie Porte is widely seen as Chris Froome's biggest rival for the overall victory. Formerly Froome's key lieutenant, Porte has made big strides in his abilities as a team leader. He's won the Tour Down Under and the Tour de Romandie this season and looked close to victory at the Dauphiné until a final day struggle saw him lose by just 10 seconds. Suffering as Jourcen's often been Porte's downfall, but his performance last year, which saw him finish 5th despite an untimely mechanical in the first week, will give him confidence. Nairo Quintana will be the only major general classification contender at this year's Tour that has already got a Grand Tour under their belt. Quintana went into this season with the intention of winning both the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France. He missed out by a tiny margin at the Giro, finishing 2nd to Tom Dumoulin in the end. Quintana will want to rectify that and win his first Tour de France, but it all depends on how he recovers. Movistar also has former podium finisher Alejandro Valverde as joint leader with Quintana. Romain Bardet returns to the Tour de France looking to improve on his runners-up spot from 12 months ago. Bardet stormed to 2nd in the standings last season after a bold attack on stage 19 that saw him take the victory. This time out, Bardet comes to the race following a 6th place at the Criterium du Dauphiné. He admitted after the race that he still has some work to do in the intervening 3 weeks in order to catch up with his rivals, but his result shows that he's on the right path. Prior to the Dauphiné, JAKOB FUGLSANG would have been seen as a potential top 10 finisher, but probably not much more. That's changed. In 2013 he finished 7th overall, his best Grand Tour finish, but has since had to use his talents to support other riders. This year, he was given the chance to take the leadership role at the Tour, and he paid back the team's faith with overall victory at the Dauphiné. Fabio Aru will join him, and the two together could prove to be quite potent. After saying he'd retire at the end of last season, Alberto Contador is back at the Tour de France for his 10th appearance. Contador will be hoping that it'll go better than his 9th, which ended prematurely due to a fever and injuries suffered in crashes in the opening stages. Contador's form is comparatively unknown, as he rode well within himself during the Criterium du Dauphiné. In recent years, the best a 2-time champion has managed is 4th, but with a much steadier approach, perhaps he can improve on it. Dan Martin finally broke into the top 10 of the Tour de France last season with a career high of 9th. The performance came as a result of a much more focused approach. This season, that has been refined once again. Despite saying he was deliberately further behind where he was at the same point last year, he finished 3rd yet again at the Dauphiné. Martin has often faded in the final week, but if he can hold it together for the full race, he could break into the top 5 or better. RAFAL MAJKA heads up BORA-HANSGROHE's team for the Tour de France. The Polish rider has won the mountains classification in 2 of the last 3 years, but he'll be hoping for some better luck in the general classification. His best performance at the Tour is 27th, but 3rd place at the 2015 Vuelta a España shows what he can do in a Grand Tour when it comes together. After winning a stage and finishing 2nd overall in California, he's used the Tour of Slovenia as his final preparation. ESTEBAN CHAVES will finally get to make his debut at the Tour, after podium finishes at both the Giro and the Vuelta. His tilt at the Tour was met with much anticipation, however that has been somewhat dampened as a result of a knee injury he picked up at the start of the season. He put on a few attacks at the recent Dauphiné, but ultimately struggled to follow the main contenders. There's still time to turn things around though, and it would be foolish to count him out just yet. At 25, Louis Meintjes is fast approaching his peak as a Grand Tour rider. He's had a good record at 3-week races, finishing 10th at the 2015 Vuelta a España and 8th at last year's Tour de France. Meintjes has had a relatively quiet season, but put in a strong performance at the Dauphiné to finish 8th. Meintjes is unlikely to get vast amounts of support in the mountains, but if he can hold on to the coattails of the main contenders, then he's got a good shot at returning to the top 10.